Good morning. All right, go anywhere in the world and ask someone what Detroit is known for, and they will quickly tell you cars and music. But during these summer months, the sounds of rhythm and blues and jazz just might supersede the Motor City's original love by a whisker. That is, until the Dream Cruise week revs up. We'll talk about that this morning with two music event leaders, Shahida Mayusi, President and CEO of The Right Productions, and Chris Collins, President and Artistic Director of the Detroit Jazz Festival. It's Sunday, August the 4th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight from theCUBE. The Aretha, where we were so used to saying Shane Park, that has now changed. First year up under the auspices of the Aretha. How's it going?
You know, it's an honor to carry that name, and it's also a challenge. So it means that, well, we may have been doing great things under Shane Park, but we got to step it up for the Queen. We have to turn it up for the Queen.
Yeah, otherwise Aretha may send a bolt of lightning.
You know, I don't want the walls to start shaking, the pictures to fall.
It's got to be up to her standards.
Exactly, and she set one.
Right. You have a great lineup this year.
Thank you.
And you always pull that together. Give folks some idea of who's coming rest of August into September.
Well, you know, it's been a wonderful thing now that the weather has turned to summer
finally,
in Detroit.
Finally. We got out that crazy spring weather.
But you know, you've got to get it in.
That's right.
In Detroit. We don't have much time to waste. I want to thank McDonald's and Varsity Ford for being part of the impetus to make what happens at the Aretha happen.
Corporate sponsorship is so important.
It's absolutely essential. So we want to be a celebratory place. We're going to have somebody that come that hasn't been yet to the Aretha or Shane Park. Miss Gladys Knight is coming.
All right, right.
And you know, Gladys is a Detroit family person, right?
Absolutely.
So we're looking forward to that. We've got Herbie Hancock and Kamasi Washington, which blends, you know, traditional great jazz icon with the young vibrancy of this new artist, right? So both audiences should be there and enjoy each other's music.
You've had the jazz series that goes on Wednesday nights,
every Wednesday
which has
night.
become very, very popular, very affordable, and I think that's one of the things that people are attracted to, the fact that it doesn't cost that much, but yet you're looking at top jazz artists,
top acts,
name recognition jazz artists.
Yes, we absolutely have that with Bob James, and we've had so many people this year. Rolls Royce and Confunction, that's not quite jazz, but it's going to be fun.
Right.
So because it's a City of Detroit owned facility, we're able to provide music of that quality at the most affordable prices. It's the best entertainment by in town, bar none. $24 for two national headliners on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, almost unheard of.
Yeah, it is unheard of.
Yeah.
We only do it. Nowhere else in the country, I think you can find this. It's a Detroit special, and it's something that, you know, people come, they line up in droves as soon as we put the tickets on sale. So if you haven't been part of the Wednesday night at the Aretha is friends and family. It's a warm, wonderful way to spend a summer night.
The venue is special because it's right on the river. We've got a great riverfront now.
Yes.
Development's still going on, but they've opened it up tremendously over the last 10, 15 years. What always surprises me, but I can tell that they're enjoying it, is all the boats that pull up when a concert is going on, and they're watching it from their boat, and they're still able to partake in this whole thing.
They enjoy it, and they contribute to the ambiance, quite honestly, right? To see the boats in the background and the music in the foreground, the summer breeze, a traditional Shane Park blue drink is still there on the menu. It's not an Aretha blue drink, it's a Shane Park blue drink.
Right. And they don't have to pay, but they got to buy gas.
Exactly. And sometimes they need that extra break.
Absolutely.
One of the things I want to celebrate, though, is that Shane Park is actually an architectural gem. It was awarded the 25th anniversary of the American Institute of Architects this year for a facility that is still being used in the design that it was originally made for. That's an honor, and it's a beautiful place. If you haven't seen it, you may have driven past and really have no idea. But once you step in, you see why it's still winning awards.
Yeah,
So,
and it is It's a nice size, but it's still small enough to be intimate with the artist, and you don't feel like you're in a gigantic facility and you're so far back that you don't really see and hear the artist. You hear the music, but you feel like, oh, I can barely see them, and if it weren't for these monitors. At the Aretha, you're close enough to be able to see. You have the monitors, but you don't really need them.
Yes, it's there. It's a wonderful, intimate space for music. And really, the artists come and give extraordinary performances there.
We're going to take a break, and I want to pick up on that when we come back, because I want you to talk about, from the artist's perspective, why the Aretha, the old Chene Park, is very, very special. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Shahida, I'll talk about, from the artist's perspective, why the Aretha and these type of venues are important and special to them. It's outside, number one, it's summertime, but what do they say to you?
They really love it. They really do. And I really must say that I credit part of the energy there to the river. Being on the river with that in the background changes the energy somehow, you know? They love it. Plus they love the fact that they're coming into a family environment. You know, the Wright Productions is a family business.
Right.
My 4 sons are essential components of what we do there, and they make it possible.
And that's important, especially when we're talking about the African American community and entrepreneurship, is preparing that next generation to keep a business going at the level that the person that started it created.
Well, they have not only helped me to build it, and they are essential. As I was saying, my youngest son has just finished a world tour as tour manager for another artist. So he's gone and scoped out best practices and venues all around the world.
Spying,
he's, you know, my industrial spy over the back.
But that's important because he sees what's happening in other cities. One, seeing what the competition is doing, because when you're all trying to get the same artist, the artists have to sit down and their agents and decide, okay, I can't do all of them, but which 10 or which 15 this summer do I want to do? And you want to be front and center, and the one that they say, I got to go back to the Aretha because of all the different ambience.
He brings best practices home, but we make sure that the artists are well treated when they come to the Aretha. Now, you know, Aretha would not have it.
That's true.
That artists would not be fed well and treated with absolute respect and courtesy and whatnot. So we make sure that they have an entire Aretha Franklin amphitheater experience.
How does this fit into the image of this city in music?
I've seen Detroit artists sitting backstage talking with international artists, just talking for an hour, 2 hours about the industry, about the music, about the business. So there's a sharing that happens there and a cross-fertilization that happens. So it's a special, special place, and it's our tradition, but it's our honor to be the stewards of this wonderful, wonderful place. We have some of the best audiences and the most discerning audiences in the country.
All right, so they can be a little picky.
Oh, yeah.
This is Motown.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You better bring your A game.
Yeah, the VIP experience, what is that?
So you're able to come into the Aretha early if you buy a VIP experience, and you can have a light buffet experience there. So you can come, have a bite to eat, get a glass of something that you prefer just before the show if you're part of the VIP experience. And you can acquire that by going online to thearetha.com or through Ticketmaster.
All right. You want to mention, I guess, a couple other artists that are coming?
We've got a night of Lost 80s coming, which is going to be fun. So a flock of seagulls, Wang Chung, Bow Wow. It's going to be a fun rock night.
Take folks back a little bit, a little old school.
A little bit, you know. Let's have some fun with it. And then, you know, we've also got Return of the Legends, which is an annual event. This is our 16th year of doing, on Labor Day weekend, a couple of shows of classic hip hop.
All right, all right. And then people will have a choice because they got the Jazz Fest going on that weekend, but they can just walk down a little further and they can go to the Aretha and make sure that they have nothing but music in downtown Detroit.
If jazz is your choice, you've got great options. If hip hop is your flavor, come on down.
And when Spotlight returns, we'll talk to Chris Collins about the world's largest free Jazz Fest. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Spotlight. We're down here at the Cube, our home away from home. And joining me is Chris Collins. He is president and artistic director of the Detroit Jazz Festival, and certainly someone who makes this place his home. Chris, good seeing you.
Good to see you, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Are you ready?
We are ready, baby.
All right.
We are ready. The whole team.
I was in Kansas City, another great jazz town, a couple weeks ago. I met someone who I'd never met before, and the second I said I was from Detroit, first thing out of their mouth was, oh boy, I've been to your city. I was there a couple years ago for the Detroit Jazz Festival.
Right.
What a gem.
Yes.
Do you think we sometimes forget how much of a gem we have to the rest of the world?
Well, you know, it is truly beyond all the accolades of being the largest free jazz festival, and, you know, it draws 325,000 people, a third from outside the state, so it's literally millions of dollars in income in our city for our businesses. I think it's kind of the Detroit way. We have so many amazing people, amazing initiatives, amazing pieces of history that sometimes we forget how special it is in our own backyard, and yet the rest of the world looks at us and says, wow, dig what's going on
Well,
there.
it's good we have you to remind our audience out there and anybody who may be in town, just happen to visit, come back for the Detroit Jazz Festival on Labor Day weekend. Talk about the lineup for this year.
Well, it's a real special year. It's our 40th anniversary, so we decided to make it a reunion. So we started with bringing back 7 of our past artists in residence. That means we have our artist in residence Stanley Clark with us performing throughout the year, or performing throughout the festival, and then we have Pat Metheny, we have Ron Carter, we have Danilo Perez, Joshua Redmond, Terrence Blanchard, and even Regina Carter is making a guest appearance with Xavier Davis in his string group. So
all big headline names,
major
known
cats
throughout the jazz world.
They are, and they are joined by, you know, some of the new and upcomer, like Veronica Swift is with us this year. Elu, one of the really interesting new piano players, along with Macy Gray, is going to be with us with a new jazz record. So it's something for everyone. In fact, you know, Stanley Clark, for instance, he has been with us all year, teaching and doing different projects, but he's also been preparing.
He's been artist in residence.
Artist in residence, preparing special performances. So you can imagine the festival will open with the tradition of the second line band with Dr. Valade's brass band led by Shannon Powell, all the way to the most modern of stuff. At the end of the festival, we'll close it with Stanley Clark presenting a piece that's inspired by John Singleton's film, Boys in the Hood, which brings together Stanley's band, 25-piece string Detroit Jazz Fest orchestra, along with film elements from Singleton's film and a bunch of surprises along the way. It's going to be very special.
Under your watch as artistic director, you've done a good job of blending those really big names and those veterans of the jazz world with the new up-and-comers, equally talented, maybe not quite as big a name yet, but on that road. Has your research shown you that people like that? They like mixing in the new with those veteran names?
Well, you know, it is simply jazz. Jazz is what you just said. It is something that is based on a history, a vocabulary, the great legacy artists like Ron Carter, who established this vocabulary. But then every day, every moment, you have new artistic ideas, new artists coming up from different places. And so what we do is we have open submission for artists through from February through June 1st, where I get to hear literally thousands of artists. Of course, as a musician, I play with cats all around the world. I get to hear new cats. We do open jam sessions, so I get to hear the young players.
And that's an added asset, because you aren't just an administrator sitting in the ivory tower making those decisions. You're out there playing and you know the craft.
Yeah, you know, I don't even like the term administrator. I think musicians should run the world, though.
Well, there might be you might make a good argument for that these days, but okay.
It does get you in the community, and when you ask, you know, Pat Metheny to do something special or work with, you know, Stanley Clark on his residency, you have to develop trust, and you have to be able to look at the scores and talk musical language, and that's something that you know, the board for the Detroit Jazz Festival Foundation, putting an active artist in my role, was a big move, but it also created, I think, some trust and some a knowledge base that has helped to create some of these very special performances.
You have something that you call hometown artists and then homecoming.
Yeah.
Explain the difference.
Everything we do in Detroit is about the incredible history and legacy of this place and the incredible family of artists and patrons and audiences. So every year the festival does a homecoming series where we bring back those artists that came up in Detroit and went on to create globally known careers. So Dee Dee Bridgewater, Sheila Jordan, Ali Jackson, Kenny Garrett, they're going to be coming back with us this year along with a host of others. And then the Hometown series is about celebrating those artists that have stayed in the city of Detroit, that have made this their home and have developed global careers from here. And they bring everyone together, the family of Detroit, the family of Detroiters who've gone on to other things, our artists and residents who've become part of our family, along with the one-of-a-kind audiences, which every artist will tell you, they want to play Detroit because our audiences are so huge.
The audiences appreciate and they know the tradition here.
That's right. It's a cultural thing. It's part of who we are in Detroit, jazz.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, I want to talk about some of this corporate support, because without them, this wouldn't happen and certainly wouldn't be free for all the people out there. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're talking about music, we're talking about jazz, we're talking about something that is just the fiber of this city and a tradition, the Detroit Jazz Festival on Labor Day weekend, just a couple weeks away. All of this couldn't happen. You got four stages, and then you've got the jam session.
Yeah, man.
And that's spread all over downtown Detroit. It's free. That takes a lot of support from corporations and benefactors.
It is, and it does, and it really shows the love in our community from individuals and the corporations that support it, of their love of arts and culture and wanting to support that, even though they're for-profit businesses. And we start with our angel of jazz, Miss Gretchen Boulay.
Gretchen Boulay, yeah.
And she stepped up.
She saved this jazz festival.
She is. 10 years ago or so, she stepped up and said, no, this can't end. This has got to continue. And she made arrangements through her Gretchen Boulay Endowment for the Arts to make sure that happens. And what was created is the Detroit Jazz Festival Foundation, which is the umbrella organization that produces year-round events and the signature event, the Detroit Jazz Festival. You couple that then with our presenting sponsor now for 3 years, Quicken Loans. So it's the Detroit Jazz Festival presented by Quicken Loans, along with Chase and Absolpure and Carhartt and Mack Avenue, Wayne State University. There's so many step up and say, this has to continue, and they jumped on the bandwagon with Miss Boulay, and they made commitments that have created a foundation under the foundation that will ensure that generations from now, the Detroit Jazz Festival will be as what it is or better, and it'll still be free. So our grandchildren and their grandchildren will be able to have the experience that you and I have had.
Yeah, and Gretchen has not only put it into the festival, but into the infrastructure, as you just referenced. Look at all what she's doing with Wayne State, the new jazz building that's coming up there. So that's the foundation. They're going to be breeding musicians for years to come.
And I will tell you that over the last 20 years, I've seen a movement, and a lot of it is because of Gretchen Boulay and the companies that have sponsored the festival. There's been a growth in jazz clubs. There's been the growth of the festival and venues to play, recording, jam sessions everywhere. A lot of young musicians are coming up in Detroit, and they will tell you they're not going to New York, and they're staying here.
The Detroit Public Schools, they have so many talented students there, and of course with the artistic center that they have there just down the street on Woodward. But I understand you're trying to do something special this year in terms of the instruments that they play?
Well, the superintendent, Dr. Beatty, really stepped up, and I'm sure everybody's aware, he made arts an important part of the conversation of Detroit Public Schools Community District. And as part of that, he wanted to start an instrument donation program that was highly organized and structured, and he came to us to be one of the inaugural supporters of that program. We did a press conference a couple months ago, and we are well on the way to collecting slightly used or new instruments from anyone who can. Maybe you have a flute that you used to play that you haven't touched in years, a guitar, a set of drums. And in addition to that, we've reached out to the artists, all of the artists at the Detroit Jazz Festival, asking them to be part of this. So there are going to be some big surprises at the festival that are going to celebrate this connectivity between Detroit Jazz Fest Foundation and Detroit Public School CD and this incredible movement to celebrate the legacy of Detroit Public Schools in art and jazz and music, and to help build burgeoning programs and to support those programs like Castech and DSA and Renaissance that have had long histories of producing some of the greatest musicians in the world.
A few years ago, you introduced the Live app. How's that going?
Oh man, Detroit Jazz Fest Live. I gotta tell you, it'll be available this year on the App Store and Google Play, and you can do amazing things. You can see the entire schedule and click on one thing and it takes you to the
Just
photo
from your
and
handheld.
bios. Oh man, it's unbelievable. But the real amazing part of the app is for a subscription fee of $20, and you can get all the information at DetroitJazzFest.org. But for $20, you get year-round streaming. So you get to see some of the background of Stanley Clarke rehearsing or Ron Carter working with students, and then at the festival, all 4 stages, all 4 days, streamed in real time. So you can watch it from home. You can send it to your friends in Kansas City and say, check this out.
Yeah.
Great early Christmas present, by the way. And
They'll like that.
If you're sitting at Chase Main Stage and you want to know what's happening at Hart Plaza before you hoof it down there, you check it out on your app and say, I'm going to go see this cat I never heard of. Let me check this out.
And the Doris Duke Foundation played a key role in that?
Very important part of it. You know, we benefit from a lot of federal grants. The Doris Duke Foundation, the Joyce Foundation, here our Herb Family Foundation. These folks offer grants and support for these kind of things that allow us to set up the infrastructure, and then we have to rely on you to use the product, and to if you're interested in live stream, buy the subscription, which is $20. There's nothing like it in the world. No festival does it like we do it, and I promise you, you can punch in your likes, and it'll help you set up a schedule of things that you might want to check out. Many things you may not even be aware of or not know what they are.
Yeah. Final question. If Chris Collins had his wish list, something you could have for the Jazz Festival,
you know, I already have it.
In one of these few years, what would it be?
Oh man, my biggest wish list, and what my whole team has been working on since my administration started, is to archive everything. Business practices, grants, how we communicate, what we do with PR and marketing. How do we sustain a multi-million-dollar free festival and foundation throughout the year? I want to see that continue forever. So I'm working hard, looking way past my lifespan and saying, what can we do to pass this on to the next generation of caretakers so the city of Detroit and the world benefits forever from this amazing, amazing Detroit Jazz Festival.
All right. All we got to do now is get perfect weather for the Labor Day weekend. I'll go back to the station. I'll talk to all the meteorologists. We'll put a good word in for you, and we'll make that work. Chris Collins, thanks so much. Keep up the good work and keep this gym going 100%. All right, it's a great way to wind down the summer, Labor Day weekend, before you get those kids off to school. Come on to downtown Detroit and have your last artistic fling for the summer. Not for the year, for the summer. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the Spotlight. We hope you have a great week.